I want to ask you guys, have you ever worked on a goal, but it never seems to be happening fast enough? Maybe it's one of the reasons why, well, actually, not maybe, but one of the reasons why I see people fail all the time is because they actually don't put in enough energy and effort to see it through to the end. Like they're not consistent enough. But here's the thing, too. This is the caveat with it as well. Sometimes it's the actual opposite, where you're putting in so much energy and effort and it's trying to tell you, hey, it's time to do something different. It's time to change this up. It's time to like think of something outside of the box. Then in reality, just forcing it and pushing through is really not the answer. Now, there's this dichotomy between when, like, how do I stay consistent and motivated to doing the right thing all the time? And when should I adjust and when should I change? Because just forcing it isn't going to work. That's literally why we wanted to put together this training for you guys. So guys, welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. We help parents excel personally and professionally without sacrificing family time or burning themselves out. We do that via quick, short tip videos on Mondays and Thursdays and longer episodes here on the weekend. Today, we're a little bit earlier than normal, but we're going back to our regular time very, very soon. I am super pumped to welcome an incredible master coach to this call, Teresa, aka my wife. And I do want to say that in the future, meaning the next couple videos you guys are going to be seeing, you're going to actually see her as a part of this channel, as a part of our Modern Leadership team. So she is going to be on the calls. She's going to be on the live videos. She's going to be on the recorded videos because of, I mean, there's so many different avenues that you can come at from the leadership perspective. Number one, I know that you guys definitely realize she's way more beautiful than I am. And so I definitely want to play to that. But also like the leadership strategies that she uses to lead me, to lead our family, to lead the mompreneurs that she leads are a little bit different than what I use. And really they complement each other so, so well. So I really am on a mission to like help empower not only people who want to become like incredible leaders, but also like people who maybe don't think of themselves as leaders. Maybe they think like, well, maybe I'm not necessarily the person who's leading, when in fact you 100% are. I know that Teresa is my leader, even if like people don't think that's the case. And that's the reason why I wanted to bring her on, because she's a powerful leader. She's somebody that we can all, and I can 100%, I learn from all the freaking time. And I wanted to incorporate her into this channel because of just how great it is to see things from a bunch of different perspectives. So she's going to be a part of our Modern Leadership full-time team. So when you think of Modern Leadership, you're going to think about both of us. So welcome to the call, Teresa. I'm super pumped to talk about this topic with you.
Thank you. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
introduction.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries at all. And I feel like I underdid it because you are such a powerful leader. And I know it's going to come out even more now that you get the opportunity, or I get the opportunity of like starring with you here on this channel. But we want to get into this topic today, guys, because this is one that is near and dear to my heart, because I've been on both sides of this equation. And the first part of this equation was I was putting all the energy, all the effort, like doing things as much as I possibly could, but I could very easily talk myself out of continuing because I didn't see results quickly. I didn't see like the fruits of my hard work. And so I would give up and I would try something else and I would try something else and I would try something else. And it was this constant back and forth of like trying a million different things, never doing things like long enough to actually be able to succeed. Now, what I found is I was able to, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I really dove in and wrote my book about these ideas of like getting myself to show up and being able to coach myself. And once I was able to like coach myself, I actually took it to the other extreme. Teresa knows this. I'm Mr. Extreme. We've been like
You're
for the last
passionate.
3 days.
You're
Yeah,
passionate.
okay. I'll say passionate. But for the last 3 days, I've been like really like diving into puppies. So one of the things I tell my kids is like, hey guys, when I retire, we're going to get a puppy. I want to make sure that I'm going to be here to take care of it, because I know that they think they're going to take care of it. And then after a week, they're going to get bored of it and I'm going to be cleaning up the poop and the pee. So I was like, hey guys, I'm going to take care of the puppy. I mean, we're going to get a puppy once I retire. And February 2nd is when I'm officially retired. I'm on vacation now, so I get to practice retirement. But because of that, my brain goes into the same mode that allowed me to succeed when it comes to my health, succeed now in business, succeed when it comes to like trying to become a better father and a better husband, like all of these different avenues. And that is like, I don't just go a little bit in, I go all in. So I'm like literally watching puppy videos, like connecting with a breeder. I'm like literally going through all of these different steps. Yesterday, I ordered some stuff online to make sure that when we have it here, so that when we get the puppy, we're going to be good to go. Oh, by the way, we're not going to have the puppy for 4 or 5 months. So Teresa's like, why are you ordering this? Why are you doing? And that's just because the way that I am. I'm like, hey, I am like all in now because I understand the power of like going all into that area and not only how it motivates me and fuels me, but how much I learn. It is exponential and expedited. A lot of those ways, like it literally speeds up the process for me. And that's the same thing that I did in all of these other areas when it comes to leadership and family and health and all that stuff. And so I went all in. But when you do that, sometimes you can go the opposite way, which is what I did. I started to use this thing where I started to develop this superpower of getting myself to show up to now I was showing up all the time and nothing was getting like, it was kind of like I plateaued. Like I got to this certain level and I just couldn't get to that next level. And it was this thought in my mind of and I say this all the time, guys, when it comes to like burnout, like if you think that if you do work and you produce results, then if you do more work, then you're going to produce more results. And that's not the case. It's not the case at all, because when I started to go in too much, I was actually forcing things for a very long time before I started to see those rewards. And as a matter of fact, it wasn't until I changed it. I mean, I've been talking about this a lot recently. So we just hit like 1,001 subscribers to the channel. And I'm so freaking excited about that. And it happened in 2 months. Like I had some subscribers before that, but the massive amount of people who joined us in the last couple months has been exponential. And I was trying to force many other ways, like Instagram, like Facebook, not that there's anything wrong, but it's just not really congruent with me. And do you know how many years I spent over there? I don't want to say it, but like 9 years. And in this short period of time of 2 months of me leaning into my strengths, me leaning into things that I love to do, me leaning into empowering people via YouTube, via video, all that kind of stuff, it has literally opened the floodgates of results for me. But if I had been continuing to force it, it would have never actually, I would have never gotten to the point where I can be now that I have this available option that was there all the time. But I had convinced myself that because I need to finish it, anything I start, I finish. And sometimes that's to a detriment. There's this process called evolution. We're going to talk a little bit about it today. And that is like, yes, like you have to be consistent. You have to do it for long enough to even be able to get results. But at a certain point, you've got to realize that in order for you to get the actual results you want, you have to evolve. You have to see things through to the next level. You have to think about how can I do this better, but maybe even less of me. Like you've got to figure out different ways to really tackle this so that you're not trying to force that same thing. I know Teresa and I talk about this all the time. Like the way that you think it's going to end is never the way it's going to end. But yet with that in mind, that means that what you're doing right now is not going to get you to that next level. It's going to get you started and then you're going to plateau. How many of you guys have plateaued and you're like, oh my God, there's something wrong, right? So you either quit altogether or you keep going and you keep beating yourself into that wall, right? And so that's really why we wanted to put this together, is because I want to help you depending on whatever side of this you're on. If you're the side where you're like, I just can't see things through to the end. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like when I try to hit these goals, like I can't get myself motivated and consistent enough to actually hit it. Or if you're on the other side, or if you're going to flip to this other side, you have this idea of like, okay, how long do I need to give it before I can actually sit back and say, okay, I've given it enough. Let me make a tweak. Let me make an adjustment. Not because I'm changing the vision of where I'm going, but I'm just changing the way that I'm going to get there. All right. There's infinite number of ways to get there. There's no one right, best, only way to get there. If you think that's the case, you're going to be struggling for a long time because you're not going to be open to the other ways of getting there that like you don't even know exist right now. Does that make sense? So that being said, I've talked a lot. Teresa, I know everybody here kind of does know you. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick and how you actually, what you do for mompreneurs when it comes to this space of like not only mindset, but tactics? And then we'll get into what we're going to be talking about today.
Sure. So I am a certified master life coach for mompreneurs. So moms who have businesses and have crazy, chaotic lives. I also have a podcast, Organized Chaos with Teresa Hildebrand. And I help mompreneurs basically take an organizational approach to creating harmony between life and business.
I love that. I love that. I love that. You say that every single time. And I feel like it's always the first time I hear it because I love how that like floats off. Okay. So here's what we're going to do, guys. We are going to dive into the mindset and the tactics to approach when it comes to how to keep moving forward, even when you don't see immediate the progress that you expect. All right. So we're going to take this into a mindset and a tactics approach. Now, If you know me, you've been a part of anything that I've done, you know that these are like the two primary focuses that I always come back to no matter what area I'm tackling. There's always the mindset, the way that you think about it, your collection of stories, the way that your brain works to get you to show up and to take those actions, right? Then we also have over here the tactics. These are things that you physically do. These are like, do A, B, C. This is the step by step. This is the blueprint. This is the follow this, do this, do this, and do this. The combination of both is where success always lies. You will never have success if you're just focusing only on mindset, and you will never have success if you focus only on tactics. If you're in business and all you're doing is throwing out all the tactics that people are telling you, you're not going to actually have enough mindset to actually not only post it, but to adjust it, but to make it corrections, to not make it mean something about you as a human, to not make it mean that you're not good enough, to not make it mean that you don't look like everybody else. This stuff will hold you down. The same is true over here. If you just believe it, you're like, oh my God, this is possible, but nobody actually has ever taught you how to throw a basketball. You're never going to be able to become a basketball star. You're never going to be able to go out back and even have fun because you're going to be just focusing on like, what can I do to think about this more, right? And so it's always the collection of those two things. Now, I'm going to tackle the mindset part of this one, and Teresa's going to tackle the tactics, and we're probably going to go back and forth because she always sees holes in some of the things that I'm talking about that I love for her to be able to kind of like get in. She's the most supportive person on the planet, and she's really good at doing that when we're having these calls. So we're going to start off with the mindset. All right. Now, one of the things, and by the way, I do see you guys in the comments. Thank you guys so much for making it here live. I know a lot of you guys did make it here live. We got Julie and Amber and my boy Ed, and Joe is here. And Anthony, what's going on, man? Shelly, how you doing? So pumped to have you guys here with us. And then also so pumped to have you guys here on the recording, especially if you're still making it to this point, because I've been ranting for a little bit. But I mean, it really does prove to us that you guys are incredible, powerful leaders. As we go through, if you can comment, if we have questions that are kind of like popping up, like the first one I'm going to do now, definitely comment. It doesn't matter if you're watching this video on the replay or not. I literally want to hear it. YouTube right now is the only place that I go through and I actually read and respond to every single one of those comments myself. The other places are usually my team, but if you want some personalization, please comment as we go because I really want to help you with this, all right? That's really the power of a coach, being able to help ask you powerful questions, all right? So let's start off with mindset. Now, mindset always starts with this, all right? I love to always ask myself this question because it's always like it helps me point the direction of where I want to go, right? Because as a leader, we have to be good at visioning, meaning figuring out where we want to like end up, what we want to achieve for ourselves, for our team, for our kids, for our health. Like if we don't know where that end goal is, there is no way physically possible that we can reverse engineer it. We are just doing things like throwing things on the wall to see what sticks, and we have no idea what the end results are. And because of that, we don't have the yardsticks to put up to see whether or not we're taking the steps that we need to actually get there. And it's super frustrating when you get upset at yourself that you haven't hit your goal and you haven't even defined what your goal is. All right. That is like your brain's way of trying to trick you into not doing anything. And that's why I always want to slow down with this question. And that is like, what do you really want? What do you really want? So when we think about this in terms of like, hey, I'm putting in this time and this energy and effort and I don't see immediate results, I want you to instead focus on the problem. Instead of focusing on the problem, which is like, I don't have this thing yet, it's not going fast enough, I want you to reframe it, like we say in the PCCS and the Push Coach Certification School. I want you to find your heart voice. I want you to ask yourself, what do you really want? Now, some people, when they ask themselves what they really want, they get into the tangible things. They get into like, I want this number on the scale. I want this amount of income from my business. I want this kind of relationship with my family. And that's a great place to kind of start, all right, is like, what do I really want? Now, I want to like caveat this for people who are business owners. If you are helping solve people's problems, you want to ask what the people's problems that you're trying to solve, what do they really want? All right. This is the same caveat. So as a leader, you have to first ask yourself, what do I want? And then you have to start asking yourself, like, if there's people you're helping to, like along the process, you have to ask yourself, what do they want? Not in your words, but in their words. So right now, I want you to do this first off in your words. What do you really want? So I want to hear, Carmen, what's going on, Carmen? I want to hear in the chat, what do you really want? What is like really near and dear to your heart? Now, I know there's a lot of different areas that we could do this, but there's probably one that's like this overarching thing. I remember hearing this once, like when you think about like the different goals that you want to hit, picking the one that will actually make all of the other ones easier That is usually the best place to start. All right. I always like to do it as a personal and a professional goal. I like to marry them up, saying that I have to succeed in both. That's like the goal of my goals is like I want to make $500,000 and go on more vacations and spend more time with my family at the same time. And by doing that, it kind of connects those two. But just asking yourself, like, what do I really want? What do you want to achieve? And then once you have that thing, and I do want to hear about it in the comments, and I know it's going to take a few minutes to be able to hear this because it's a little bit behind. But when you find out what you want, I want you to think about like what kind of impact that's going to have when you have it. Like if you want to create $1 million business, what kind of impact is that going to make? I mean, is it going to give you like things that are going to be possible in your life that aren't possible right now? How many people are you going to have to help or impact? What is that going to do for your family? What is that going to do for your legacy? Like, how is that going to feel? How proud are you going to be when you're able to achieve that thing, right? Maybe it's losing weight. Maybe it's coaching other people. Maybe whatever that thing is, like think about that. Like what I want is I want this. And what kind of impact is that going to have on me once I have it? Now, tactically, like when we think about this, when we think about what we want and what the impact that's going to make, I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm doing this is because it gets you into a different energy space. All right. Now we talk about head versus heart. I literally teach this inside of our Push Coach certification school. All right. Your head voice is going to keep you stuck. It's going to prevent you from taking action. It's going to think that you're confused. It's going to think that you don't know what you want. It's going to think that who are you to deserve that? All of these things are literally just there to keep you stuck. They're there to keep you in the past. They're there to keep you uneasy. They're there to keep you like, hey, let's keep you safe. All right. No matter how smart your brain goes, that's the only thing it's trying to do is to keep you safe. And I want you to think about that because that's exactly what it's trying to do. It's like, oh, well, you don't have that certification yet. I know I was talking to Anthony a little bit ago and he's like, well, I'm not certified yet. I'm like, well, how does that stop you from helping people? It doesn't, but your brain will tell you, no, you got to be certified. No, you got to know this. No, you got to know that. And it's crazy. I'm having this little conversation with him in the chat on YouTube. And I'm like, hey, what's the easiest thing that you can do? Like, who can you help? And he was like, I'm gonna really connect with my daughter. I'm like, bro, that's like a game changer right there, right? Instead of thinking about, well, I don't have all this, well, like, who could I connect with, right? Maybe somebody in your family, maybe somebody that you saw come across your newsfeed on Facebook or Instagram, maybe like your daughter, maybe somebody else. Like, that is where the power is, right? When you just step out and you start helping, and then you're like, wow, if I can help her, if I can help this person, then I can help other people too. And I'm not saying like a certification is not nice. I have plenty of certifications. All right. I'm just saying like when we think about things and it's actually there our brain is there to stop us, it will prevent us from going out there and doing the hard things that we need to do to just develop it. Right. Guys, everybody starts at 0 followers. All right. Everybody starts at 0 customers. Everybody starts at 0 people in their course. Everybody starts at 0 on their leadership journey. Like we don't start off with 100. Right? People tend to forget, and I wish I had not removed them from my YouTube channel, but people tend to forget that we all suck when we get started. Maybe you think I suck right now, but you should see me when I sucked 8 or 9 years ago when I first got started with video, right? It was terrible. It was even worse than right now, right? It's taken me 700 and something episodes of my podcast and how many videos right now to get to where I am, but I had to start, right? And how we do that is we listen to our heart. And our heart is like, what do I want to create? What kind of impact will this make in the world? What kind of things is it going to make possible for me and for others that is not possible right now? One of the things I think about is like, when I'm a $1 million earner, how many other organizations am I going to be able to support? How many nonprofits am I going to be able to fund? How many people's lives am I going to impact? Right now, there's a organization that I donate to. It's called the Blue Family Tree, right? It donates to police officers and their families when police officers have lost their life and their family can't afford to now bring their kids to college and do all that stuff. So I donate every single month to them. But my goal is not to just donate what I donate right now. My goal is to donate $500,000 every single year to this organization. And in order to do that, I need to make a massive impact on my channel, my YouTube channel, on coaching people, on changing people's lives so that I can support my family and be able to do that. So when you think about our brain tries to keep us safe, it tries to keep us, well, you don't need that extra money. You don't need that. But when I think about the people out there who do need it, it gets me into this level of purpose where I feel like I'm here for a reason. I was put on this planet to make an impact, and I will do whatever I can to go out there and to impact them. And when I start thinking about this in terms of my heart voice, when I start thinking about the impact and power that it's going to give me and all of the different things that it's going to make possible for them, it gets me to go out there and to do the hard things day after day. Here's the secret, guys. Everybody has goals, even if you don't think so. Everybody starts off and they're excited when they first get started on something. They have this goal, they have this mission. But do you know what most people don't do? It's not the days that are easy that count the most. It's the days that you don't feel like it, that there's naysayers out there, there's negativity on social media, you're not feeling well. Like those are the days that you earn the right to have that goal. It's not the easy ones, it's the tough ones. And so when you have those tough days, you can reach in and go, you know what? This is what I really want. This is the impact that I'm making. And I'm not just willing to do this when everything goes well. When I wake up and the alarm is like music to my ears and I'm ready to get up and ready to make an impact, right? No, it's the days like 3 minutes before you go live on YouTube, the microphone goes out and then you forgot to print out the notes. And then you're like trying to juggle the lights and you're like, oh my God, like this is just all falling apart. But you're like, you know what? This is actually what makes us the leader that we need to be right now, right? It's not the easy times where everything goes easy. It's the times when it's hard. It's the times when, something happens in your family. It's the times when something happens at work that you actually get the opportunity to step up. It's when you have a sucky boss and you show up and you are the leader that they need more than ever. Because you maybe can't be the boss because you don't have that rank, but you can 1000% be the leader that they need to be. And in these moments where you're like trying to talk yourself out of it, you're trying to think about like, oh man, but it's just so hard. Like I've been trying this for this amount of time and I haven't gotten results. You got to think about this in terms of like, if I truly want this thing, if I truly know the impact this is going to make, it's not just the easy times that determine it. As a matter of fact, everybody could do it if it was easy. It would suck if everybody was able to do it though, right, guys? Because everybody would have success and so nobody would have success. This is what differentiates a leader from actually a modern leader. A modern leader is somebody who's willing to go, you know what? Most people don't take this kind of action. Most people get to this point and they stop. Most people don't lean in when things get tough. Most people don't have these conversations with their kids or their wife or their spouse or their family or their work, the people at work, because they're uncomfortable positions. They're uncomfortable conversations. But I'm ready to lean in. And when you're ready to lean in, that's where you truly become the leader that you were meant to be, right? So I want you to think about this when you do have these situations where you're like, I don't know if I should stay, consistent with this. I don't know how to stay motivated. Guys, when you develop the most motivation? When you don't feel like it. Do you know when you develop the most discipline? When you don't feel like it. Do you know when you make the most impact and have the most influence? When you don't feel like it. Because how many people want to follow somebody when everything's good, but when they, something happens, they fall off the face of the planet. Nobody wants to follow leaders like that. They want to follow leaders who are true, who are authentic, who are like leading, not just when it's easy, but when it's tough too. All right. So I know I hit this one. I nail this one like really, really hard to the ground, and it's for good reason because there's always going to be two reasons to not to do something or to do something. All right. There's always going to be your head voice, which is going to try and convince you not to do it, that you're not good enough, that you put in enough energy and effort, that it's not worth it. And then you're going to have this part over here that's going to be like, no, this is the impact that it's going to make. This is the opportunity that you have. This is how leaders are built. They're built when stuff goes wrong. I said stuff, thank goodness. When stuff goes wrong, that's when leaders get the greatest opportunity to step up and lead, not when things go well. So I don't want you to crave when things go wrong, but when they do, I want you to go, this is the 50% of life where I actually get paid what I'm worth. This is where I actually get to show people like what I'm really all about. And in those moments, you lean in and you develop into that kind of modern leader. So, all right. So that was the first part of it. Teresa, what do you got? What did I miss?
Well, going into tactics, this wasn't something I had written down, but I think that this is probably another tactic, is just listening to the first 20 minutes of this video. Just because Mark has a way with really, harnessing his energy and just giving it to everyone who watches him. So even just, watching what he just talked about would give you that motivation to keep going. So put it on repeat and then you'll have one extra tactic there. But I do want to go into really how we can kind of maintain that motivation is really just having it in the forefront of our mind all the time, because we will get into, the day-to-day things and we'll forget. And, it'll like some of the things that happen during the day will kind of like take over. And I think that one of the best things to do is to really just remind you of what you're fighting for, right? Remind you of why you're doing what you're doing. So it's about writing it down. And this could be done in many different ways. You know, you can maybe even have it on your phone, just typed up, and you just kind of look at it every single day, or you actually physically write it every day. We have a journal and we use it for many different ways. But if you write down, let's say your goal, right? So let's say you listen to Mark and you're like, okay, I wrote down what my goal is. Like, what is it that I really want? This is the stake in the ground that I'm putting in. And then you write it. You physically write it every single day so that it's a constant reminder of, you know, what you're really going for. It's not going to be easy every day. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to be so happy every day. I'm going to be writing my goal and I'm going to stay motivated. No, it's like he said, it's going to be on in those days where you just don't feel like it or something terrible happened and you're just like, why am I doing this? That is when you write it. That's when you write your goal. And it's not even just your goal, it could be anything at all, right? I think journaling is a really great thing to just stop and do because we get so caught up in our daily life. We get so caught up in just stuff that's going on. But if we sit down and we, you know, create some silence so that we can have some clarity, writing down those goals every single day is a really great way to stay motivated, even
Mm.
when times are tough.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Guys, when it comes to like writing down the journal and affirmations and stuff like that, I was like totally against it in the beginning too. So if you're somebody who's like, that's just like doesn't even, please just lean in. All right. Don't be a mark. Don't like push back against it. After I got this, like literally for the last 8 or 9 years, like this is what I do every single morning. I write down 3 things that I'm thankful for. Teresa seems to make it to the list every single time. Then I write like what I'm actually working for. What do I want? What kind of impact is that going to have? Then I write down the 3 things that I'm going to do that day to work towards that goal. And then I have a little section on the part on the side where I kind of plan out my day. I'll leave you guys the journal that both Teresa and I use. I'll go back afterwards and I'll put that into the link. Let me actually just put this because it's hard to find. If you don't find it, find the right one. There's a lot of them, but it's kind of like a business and personal life journal that you can like really dive into. But like she said, like reminding yourself, oftentimes we think we need to learn new things when all we really need to do is remind ourselves of kind of what we're fighting for. Yes, there's things out there that we can do, adjustments that we can make, all those kind of things. And I'll walk you through that real quick. What I would typically do in a coaching session with somebody, but really like being able to like write out and journal like, hey, what was working well, what's not working well, what are things that went well yesterday, what didn't go well yesterday. It gives you the opportunity of every day making different choices. I think when we force the same thing over and over and over again, we think we're on track, but in reality, it's trying to tell us something. Like when we don't feel good that day, or we have like some kind of like thing that we come up against, we have some pushback from people, we kind of like try to ignore it and just keep pushing on. But the best thing you can do is reflect on it and make different things like, hey, the next time this happens, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. So let me give you guys a really quick hash down of a quick session that I would do if I was your coach. All right. If we were sitting down one-on-one, these are the questions I would ask you. And I would make sure that you write these down so that you can have these for yourself and do this daily reflection. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how did you show up yesterday when it comes to an energy level? So what was your energy like yesterday on a scale of 1 to 10? On a scale of 1 to 10, how did you perform on an action level yesterday? Based off of the things that you said you were going to do, how much of that did you actually do, right? Number 3 is what was your greatest win yesterday? What was something you did yesterday that you were like really proud of? That's what this question is about. It's like finding the jewel in yesterday's day, even if it was the most terrible day in the world. I want you to find something that you're proud of, something that you were successful with. The 4th, if I could do the day all over again, what would I do differently? So if I could do yesterday all over again, what would I do differently? And then you just write out like what it is that you could have done differently. Now, if we were on a one-on-one session, I would ask you like, what would you like some help with today? But those 4 first questions show me the path of where you can use the most amount of coaching ability, but where you can like make the most corrections, all right? Because the action and the energy level will show you whether or not you're taking action and whether or not you're having the energy to do that, right? It's just like an indicator of like, oh, wow, like my energy was low last week. You know what you can do? Why was it low? Oh, it's because I did this, this, this. I put too much stuff on my schedule. I wasn't doing my personal development. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't doing. That's huge, guys. When you're like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep. That's huge because you know what you can do? Well, you can get enough sleep tonight. You can eat better today. You can't do that if you don't reflect on it, right? Then I ask you, what's your greatest win? Because when you have that greatest win, you can go, you know what? This actually went really well yesterday. I want to keep doing that. I want to make sure that I keep doing that, right? So if I have a great conversation with my daughter or something like on a walk, I'm like, hey, that was a great question that I asked, and we really connected deeply with it. Let me keep asking that question, right? And I document it. I keep it somewhere. So I'm like looking at it going, oh, okay, that's the question that I asked. And it's really like pulling out the wins, right? And then what could I do differently? It's basically a way of like saying like, what's something yesterday that I did that I wish I would have done something different, right? But it comes in a more of a heart-based voice. It's like, if you could do the day over again, you really can't, but you kind of can because today's a new day, right? So if you think about what, if I could do one thing over from yesterday, what would be that thing? Now you get to learn from it, guys. Instead of stringing a bunch of days together, which are just a bunch of days, you go, okay, this is this day. What can I learn from it? This is this day. What can I learn from it? So every day I will do this. Normally, I would do it in the morning time is when I kind of write it. I suggest if you're just getting started that you kind of like in the morning time, you can write out some of these things about what you're going to be doing. Like I talked about earlier, like gratitude, maybe some affirmations, some things that like fuel you up, and plug into that. And then at the end of the day, do this little bit of a reflection. Or if you have a one-on-one coach, you could reach out to one of us, and that's what we like literally specialize is meeting usually every other week to ask people these questions. But in the beginning, just asking it every day can give you like some of those ideas of like what you can learn and grow from. Now, this is not meant for you to shame or humiliate or guilt yourself into doing things. This is just like, hey, take a piece of wisdom from this. It doesn't have to be from every single one of these questions. Maybe there's just, well, hopefully there's just one thing. You're like, you know what, this is the one piece that I'm going to take from this. This is the one thing I'm going to learn from this, right? And that's all you need to do. That's what success looks like. It doesn't mean you learn 47 things. You just pick one and you go down that path, you explore it, you figure out how you're going to do it differently next day. And that's what success looks like. It's not like, you know, spending 45 minutes doing a journaling exercise. It's like 5 minutes. I'm writing this out and I'm learning what can I do differently from yesterday. You have any feedback on that, Teresa?
Yeah, I think it can be intimidating to start this habit,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you've never done it before. But like you said, it can take 5 minutes. It will eventually take 5 minutes, right? It's because
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be part of a habit. But it could take you a little bit longer at the beginning. But just keeping it up, then it'll just be like, you know, super quick in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, and
I
it,
love it.
it makes such a huge difference.
It does. It does. And Teresa already knows when I don't plug into my personal development or personal growth or do something like that because like my energy's off for the whole entire day and I'm just like negative. I'm just not the same person that I am today. It's kind of crazy when that's the case. So, okay, two more quick things. Number one, affirmations. So I have a playlist inside of YouTube. If you go to my YouTube channel at Modern Leadership, you can go to where it says the playlist, you scroll down and it's leadership motivation. I have multiple different like affirmations that I personally read every day. Those are my exact affirmations that I read. I have a bunch of them that I've put together. Whether you listen to them, whether you just take write them down the first time you listen to them, whatever that is, find the ones that fuel you. So when we talk about like goals, we talk about like visions, we talk about like affirmations, one isn't going to work for everybody on the planet. That's not how we're wired. We're all wired differently. And we need to find not only the affirmations, but the coaches, the people that really fuel us. And when you find that, it might be a book, might be a podcast, might be a playlist on YouTube. It might be this, might be Teresa, might be whoever. That's where you got to lean in and say, this is the person or this is the thing that fuels me. This is the affirmation that fuels me. And you write it down. Just because somebody like it fuels somebody else does not mean there's something wrong with you or there's something wrong with the affirmation. Affirmations are dependent on us and our wiring. Some of us, like me, are purpose-based. Like if you tell me that what I'm going to do is going to impact my kids, I'm all in. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, just put me in. I'll be there for the rest of my life, right? If it's something just for Mark, usually that's not the case. I won't be as all in as I will for my family. But that's how I'm wired. Maybe you're not wired that way. Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe it's your significant other. Maybe it's the impact that you make at work. Maybe it's the impact that you make in your business. Maybe it's like hope. Maybe it's purpose, potential, abundance, whatever that thing is for you. That's the one you have to find. So when you find it, you circle it, you write 42 different highlighted colors around it. I don't know, draw hearts. I don't care. Like find the thing that speaks loudest to you. And when you do, just keep that and keep it near you and make sure that you're like either writing it out or listening to it, especially in the morning time to fuel you through the rest of the day. So the second piece though is the part that I was talking about earlier, which is like when you start something new, okay? There is also this dichotomy where you could use this to fuel yourself to get after it, and you can actually do so much work that you come up against the plateau that you either don't change it or you just keep trying to force things that are never actually going to work, all right? Now, one of the things that I do is when I make a decision to do something, like let's say last year was my podcast. I was like, I've been semi in, but last year I was like, I'm all in. I will give it 6 months or a year. I'll either make a decision 6 months or a year. So YouTube, for example, last November, I said, I'm going to be into YouTube 100% for a full year. Whether or not I get monetized, whether or not I hit 1,000 subscribers, whether or not people come to watch me, whether there's 3 or 3,300 people here, it does not matter. I'm doing this for a full year. That's my macro commitment. But there's also micro commitments in there. It's like, okay, what do I post? Do I want to post short videos? Do I want to do shorts? Do I want to do longer videos? Do I want to do lives? Do I want to do recorded replays of books, right? I mean, you guys have seen all of these things that I'm doing. I'm still doing YouTube, but I also know that I don't know what you guys are going to connect with the most. I don't know if it's the live calls with me and Teresa. I don't know if it's going to be book reviews. I don't know if it's going to be the shorter videos. I have no idea like what it is that I'm going to be talking about. Like, and what's crazy, I was talking about this with my master coaches the other day, is like what's crazy is like sometimes the things that I think are going to blow up suck. And like I get like 3 views with it. And then sometimes I put out something related to my autoimmune or something related to, starting a business or something related to how leaders speak. And then boom, thousands of people come out of the woodwork and they listen to it. I'm like, really? Like that was just something more for me, right? That was more because I just needed to get it off my chest, some of those things. And I'm like, wow, it's those things, right? But if I'm not willing to make the tweaks and do the tests within that macro thing, and I just force it, and I just force shorts all the time. I just force, reels all the time. I just force posts all the time. I just force this one way. Like you're going to learn a lot by in the beginning taking those actions. But if you don't try different things, if you're not like, well, let me try this version. Let me try this. Maybe try a podcast. Maybe I get guests on my podcast. Maybe I do solo podcasts. Maybe I do microcast podcasts. Maybe I do a podcast once a week. Maybe I do it twice a week, right? I know I'm talking to Carmen right now, but there's so many different opportunities within just doing a podcast. People think, oh, I'm doing a podcast, so it has to be this way all the time. And you never know, like if it's actually going to work until you go through this process of evolution where you do these different things. You're like, hey, I'm going to try this version and this version and this version. And then you find out that this one works and you maybe love this one, but people really resonate with this one. And so you start leaning towards doing those things, right? Not because I don't want you to not like it, but because I want you to like really put out, like be willing to change and adjust as you go so that you can like get the response from people, not because it means something is wrong with you or not because it means something about you, but because they're telling you, this is your superpower, please lean into this. This is what I want to come here and watch you for, right? Because this is something that is extremely powerful that you do. And it might seem normal to you, but when you do it, like people lean in and they're like, this is what I want to be a part of. So I will give myself, whether it's 6 months or a year within that thing. And I'm saying, I'm going all in. I'm not tiptoeing. I'm not like every once in a while doing it because you're never going to know, guys. If you only tiptoe around it, you're never going to know if it works. If you did a reel once every 3 weeks, you're never going to know if it works. If you do a podcast every 6 months, you're never going to know if it works. But if you do it consistently, time after time, and you make micro adjustments along the way, you will know at the end of 6 months or at the end of a year, depending on which one you choose, like whether or not this is the direction that you need to go. And what's crazy, guys, is there's always stepping stones, all right? My stepping stone started out with just posts on Facebook. And then I started to do like Facebook lives. And then I started to do like workshops. And then I started to like learn about like life coaching and doing life coaching workshops. And then I started to do this. And then I was doing webinars. And now I'm doing YouTube. YouTube wasn't the first thing that I did. It's an evolution. It started off from here. And then the adjustments, the micro adjustments that I made along the way is what got me into where I am today. Am I going to end up here? I have no idea, but I'm going to be here for a year. I guarantee you come back here a year from now, you're going to see that I posted 1 video at least every single week. I'm actually doing 3. But in reality, you're going to see at least once a week I'm going to be here. My boy Kurt's going to be here. We're going to be editing videos. We're going to be putting things up because I said I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be making adjustments along the way. And what really resonates with people is what I'm going to be doing for the long term. And then after a year, I'm going to evaluate. Do I just need to keep doing this longer? Do I need to make some adjustments? What are some new things that I can add to it? Or am I going to completely pivot like I did last year, moving from now my podcast is not my main thing. Now it's YouTube. And I'm going all in with YouTube, not like, disconnecting my podcast. I'm still going to keep that running, but I'm going all in here so I can spend my time and my energy and effort here to even know if it's worth doing that. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
I know you probably have some stuff to add to that. Go for it.
yeah, well, I just love the time commitment, right? Because not a lot of people do that. Um, what, probably most people will do is if they like, let's say, we'll take YouTube for example. Okay, I'm going to do this YouTube thing, but if people show up to watch it, I'll look at the views, and if the views aren't a lot, I'm just, whatever. Maybe they won't say it out loud and say, if people don't show up, I'm just going to stop posting. They'll just look at that and use that as their measuring stick rather than the time commitment. So what that does is what you said, it's like you're going to do it no matter what. And you're going to come up with ways along the way to create more content or, make it work. But you're going to give yourself that time frame. And if you do this for long enough, or if you do anything for long enough, it probably will work, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you start to do the right things, and you'll know that along the way because you're going to keep trying things, right? Like you said, I love the macro and micro commitments. The micro commitments are what's going to make it work. It's the daily actions that you take every day, or it's the things that you do, the little things that you do within that time frame that really make a difference. So I really like the time frame rather than kind of looking at, well, do people really like this? Are people watching? Are people commenting? Are people liking? I love that instead.
Thanks. Thank you for that. And it like all of this is definitely not me. I'm actually taking a YouTube course. And what's crazy is like when you get into like things, whether it's like a YouTube course or whatever that thing is, you realize that there's a lot of universal principles that you've used in other areas of your life to succeed that you're like, oh, no wonder, like I was treating this entirely different. And this is just the same thing. One of the things that my mentor in the program said is like, hey, when you first start, you suck. You're supposed to. You're supposed to suck, but you're also going to be getting so much better. Like, I think a lot of times when people think that they're putting out a video or they're putting out something on social media or they're trying something or trying a new workout or whatever, they fail to forget, or they actually forget all of the growth they experience from doing it, especially when no one's there, right? It's like you learn so much through the actions that you take, the things that you do. You don't learn from thinking about it. Like literally that curse of knowledge where you're just like thinking about it all the time. You don't learn anything from that. You learn from physically doing it, right? And so going out there, starting a YouTube channel gives you the greatest opportunity if you use this like a science experiment. If it's just one big science experiment, hey, I said this, I didn't like when I said that. It felt weird in my body. Like I got to really examine that. I need to say this differently next time. I was telling Teresa, like when I first actually went all in with YouTube in November, like I went back to watch some of those videos and I'm like, it's crazy. In like 2.5 months, I'm like, those sucked big time. I still think I come up with sucky videos every once in a while, but they're not half as bad as when I first started. I'm like, why do I have like no like energy? Why do I feel like I'm reading from a teleprompter? I'm like, this was terrible, right? And that was, guys, that was 2.5 months ago. And I don't know, maybe you're like, hey, I don't see much change here, Mark. That's okay. I'm constantly evolving and growing. I look back into the analytics and I go, when do people leave my videos? What gets them excited to click on it? What kind of thumbnails are working here? Like, because I'm fully invested in it. I'm not like, oh my God, I must suck. No, I'm like, okay, what worked? What didn't work? Like I was telling you guys earlier, like, what could I do differently? I literally sit down on Sunday and I go, let me look at the last 2 videos I posted. For some reason, this one got more likes. This one got more watch time. This one got more subscribers. Why? What did I do? What was going on that I did well? And those other things, when you have a huge dip, when people like just leave all of a sudden, what did I say? What were some of the things that I did? Maybe I gave away too much. Maybe I didn't give away enough. Maybe it was like I didn't have energy that day. And I write it down. I go, okay, this is what I'm going to do different next time. And then when I pop up my YouTube videos or pop up my recording software on Tuesday mornings, which is when I do it, I have it in front of me going, okay, this is what I'm going to do better this time. These are the tweaks that I'm going to make. And then I just go for it. And whether or not I do better, that's okay. It's about this thing over time. Like you said, it's those incremental things that you're doing, right? And this is no different. I know I talked about YouTube. It's the same thing with your health and fitness. It's the same thing with coaching. It's the same thing with your work. It's the same thing. Like all of these things are universal principles. Your situation is not any different, all right? Promise you, if we were having a one-on-one conversation, we would be able to pull this out, all right? So instead of thinking about how much different this is for your situation, I want you to think about how much similar it is for your situation. All right. You can 1000% do this. There's been people who've been in your exact position that have gone out and created amazing success. All right. You are no different. They're no more special than you. You can go out there and you can get after it, and you can make these same kind of like decisions, get yourself to take those actions. Put yourself in an environment to make sure that these are the normal actions. I know we haven't really talked about that, but one of the things that I highly suggest is make sure you hang around with other people who also value the thing that you're starting to value right now. So if I want to grow on YouTube, would it be great for me to just grow on YouTube by myself and just watch other people's videos? No. Like I surround myself with other people who are like mentors, people who have what I want to have. People who understand the algorithm, people who know how to do thumbnails, people who know how to edit their videos. And there were just like one huge community that's out there getting after it, learning things, not only from me, but they're learning when they're doing things and making mistakes, going, hey, Mark, what do you think about this? And it's all about this process, right? So if you can surround yourself in that environment where it forces you, your expectations and your growth to get up here, that's really where the awesomeness is, all right? Stop trying to do this by yourself. Stop trying to figure it out on your own. Stop trying to solve the problem in the same place where the problem was created, which is your brain, all right? Really lean in there. Be willing to get uncomfortable. And by doing that, you're going to be able to have the success that you truly want, but also deserve. Guys, I know that you're not out there just for yourselves. I know you're not out there just to be selfish for you making an impact for yourself. I know there's this deep desire for you to impact the world, for you to impact your family, for you to like be that hope that people need when they like right now when they need it more than ever. This is not just about you. It's about them too. And I want you to have massive success. I want you to make a ton of money. I want you to help a ton of people. But in order to do so, you have to get uncomfortable and you have to be willing to go out there and to help people. And I know that's where your heart is coming from. Stop pretending like you're just doing this for yourself. Because no matter if you're just talking about making money, just talking about your health, just talking about getting promoted at work, there's a deeper relying reason there that you're actually doing that. And that's why, like, as a leader, you have the most important job and role on the planet. All right. You get to make the biggest impact because you're leading from the front. And I appreciate you so much for that. All right. Before we wind this up, Teresa, you have anything else you want to share?
Well, I had a couple things, but I
Yeah,
think you already
go.
covered them.
Go for it.
Um, yeah, maybe I'll just kind of like reiterate them, but and it'll be like a twofer, but support, finding those people that are basically wanting to do similar things or, have a passion for something and want to make an impact. Hanging around those people is the way to go. But also just, writing down your wins, or even with those people that you hang out with. Maybe you're in a mastermind. Maybe you're just kind of like in a group of people, that have similar goals. Starting off with, what was your biggest win, right? I'm in a mastermind and we meet every week. And that's always a question because we always want to start off with the focus of, we're doing really great stuff. Maybe this week wasn't fantastic, but there had to be something that you're proud of that you can, tap into. Go in there and find that win that you had. So having a group of people to hang out with that you'll be able to learn from, that you'll be able to stay motivated with, and also that will always remind you that you're winning, you're doing great things, and you need to remind yourself of that.
I love that. I love that. Love that. All right. Great way to end it. So guys, here's what I'm going to ask you for next week. Next week, I'm putting together a workshop. It's going to be something where I'm actually going to be out of town at my life coach certification graduation. And I want to hear from you guys. What are 10 of the biggest struggles that you're going through right now? So I want to actually help you get through something that you're struggling with right now. Maybe it has to do with motivation. Maybe it has to do with like coaching. Maybe it has to do with like your business, whatever it is. I want to hear from you guys what your biggest struggle is. I'm going to be picking the top 10, the first 10 actually, whether you want to email me, you want to write it here in this comment section, you want to copy and paste it into this chat. Like if there's one thing, like if I could rate like wave a magic wand and help you when it comes to something with your family, something with your business, something in your career, something with around leading yourself. Like, what would that thing be? Hit me up, shoot me an email, comment here, because I'm going to be having those top 10 and I'm going to be going down a breakdown of them next Saturday live, so I can really help you see how the things that we talked about today actually can be personalized for your specific situation. This is normally only something that I do in a one-on-one atmosphere, but I'm going to do it for this week. So that way you guys have it live next Saturday. It won't be with my beautiful wife. She will be here in California while I'm flying out to Tulsa. But for anybody else who really wants to have their struggle tackled, please let me know. Comment below. Also leave it inside of the community tab, and I'll also send an email out tomorrow for anybody who's on our email list. All right. Now, that being said, you might get to this point and you're thinking about, okay, I love that, Mark. I love the strategy, the ideas, the suggestions on how to get myself to start staying consistent, how to continue to show up, how to continue getting after it all the time, right? But maybe you're in this process of well, how do I actually do that? What are the actual steps? How can I write out, hey, that you do this first, you do this second, you do this third, you do this fourth? Well, I did a webinar, actually a free another YouTube workshop. It's called the Success Equation. All right. There's 4 pieces to this, and I'm going to leave you a copy of the workshop here so you can dive into it. But it's consistency plus intensity plus worth plus time equals whatever you want. So if you're looking to get after something, you're looking to create some massive success, consistency is a part of that equation, but there's 2 or 3 other important parts of it that I want you to understand. So dive into that workshop. I appreciate you so much for being here. Teresa, thank you for making this amazing, as always, most supportive person on the freaking planet. And I look forward to seeing you guys next weekend. All right. You guys have a great week. Keep leading from the front, modern leaders, and I'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.